Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Many people say that sometimes you need to be a certain age, you need to drink a certain amount of rum, etc. to be able to sing parang. Now, NPATT Youth Officer Joseph Bertrand, he puts that rumor to bed in this conversation, speaking about how the legacy continues with youth and parang. Greetings, Mr. Joseph, and I want to start off, when persons say youth and parang or youth in parang, what are some of the common things that people can get wrong?
What common things people can get wrong in terms of youth and parang? Is that the question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. They tend to think that parang is dying or parang is a dying act. But having youth within the parang actually then brings life to the art form, brings a new spin on the art form. And to be very honest, the youth within the parang doing amazing, amazing things with their tutors, with their teachers, and with their band leaders, etc. So, in terms of the youth and parang, I would think amazing. Where people might think wrong, maybe dying. But what do you think?
And I want you to expand on that a little bit in terms of the lay of the land, because you spoke about teachers, you spoke about tutors. Who are some of the other individuals interacting with them, and what are some of the things that are happening? Some of these amazing, amazing things as you described it.
Fantastic. So, in terms of the youth in Parang, the National Parang Association, I am the youth officer, and this rounds we have put together a very dynamic team, a youth engagement team, a youth engagement committee. And this committee is built out of the paranderos themselves, teachers, and parang mentors, okay, who all have stake within the youth development in parang. So we came up with several programs that would engage the youth, not just in the Christmas season, but outside of the Christmas season as well, to prepare for the Christmas. Okay? So we have several projects. So, for example, one would be parent practice, where throughout the year they would be partnered with a tutor to learn an instrument. All right, we have Spanish and composing classes. That was led by the Ganpats, Mr. and Mrs. Gail Ganpat, Paranderos out of Los Buenos Paranderos, and they led the Spanish and composing class that started in February, ended this year in August to prepare for the Christmas season. And we are looking to have other initiatives in engaging our youth throughout the year. One of the flagship events is the Junior Para competition. And the competition is one where the schools come together and vie for the top spot. All right, so they would learn the song or songs, and then from there, bring that to the stage and vie for the top spot. However, in 2021, we were unable to do that. So, thinking about the social media, thinking about the power of the social media, we came up with the concept of Nuestra Tradición, our tradition. And the schools and the youth groups were charged with coming together in the small groups, because remember, this is just coming out of the pandemic period, in your small groups to perform. They send the recording in, and we had a beautiful show. All right. And then moving into 2022, we completed our competition, return of this physical competition in CIC. So we're looking to then in 2023 to continue this youth engagement. Now, the first thing that we want to look into is the Sebukan Festival, which was actually part of the flagship engagement in the past. And we would like to continue that. The Sebukan is essentially the Maypole Festival, and that in itself would be part and parcel of youth engagement. And this is in May. All right. Parang in May, yes. And then we're moving into looking at other ways of engaging the youth by highlighting our youth in the Parang. So we are in this mold or in this space where we think that Parang is only the performance. However, there's a full culture behind the Parang and exposing the youth who may not necessarily be able to sing, dance, or play an instrument. You expose them to, say, stage management and event management, culinary arts within the Parang, and of course, everything now in terms of videography. So these are some of the youth in focus documentary series we would like to engage our youth in. And of course, keeping the traditions alive, we have the history of Parang lectures, house to house experience, composing music, looking at the junior Parang legacy as well to pass on that type of information. So all those things, all those initiatives, we look forward in 2023.
And with that, we take a short break. We having a small half and a big half because I don't want you to start to answer and then we say, okay, we're going to break now. But in terms of like that kind of holistic sort of approach to engagement is something we want to pick up on when we return from this break. We're speaking with the Youth Officer of the National Parang Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Joseph Bertrand. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back. We are going in depth on looking at the legacy youth in Parang. We're doing so with the NPATT's Youth Officer, Joseph Bertrand. And there are a few things, well, that you spoke to in that first half, and I want to get to piece by piece. But looking at the work of the NPATT, Mr. Bertrand, how important is it that there's this sort of engagement between the seasoned persons in Parang as well as the youth, especially when we have a changing of the guard, as it were. From the time you hear tam, pam, 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 you're thinking of Henry Pereira. But at the same time, there are people who are not here today that were here yesterday. So how important is that kind of interaction between the older individuals and the younger ones who are just coming in?
It is so, so, so important, Dike. You have hit the nail on the head there in terms of passing on the culture of Parang. Now, we need to wrap our minds around the fact that the Parang culture isn't just for Christmas, okay? It isn't a Christmas season, it's not a seasonal music, because there are only two types of songs that deal with Christmas themes, and that is the Annunciación and the Nacimiento. Just two. Everything else is either secular or deals with another aspect of the story of Christ, including the crucifixion and the resurrection, right? So in terms of the youth engagement with the older or the more seasoned paranderos, you get that direct knowledge, you get a direct understanding of the culture from the senior paranderos. So having Mr. and Mrs. NPATT really working with our youth in terms of the language, the Spanish language, and of course the composing aspect of it. Because yes, we know the pam pam pam, but I'm sure there are more that can come, more music that can come out of the youth, but once guided in the traditions of Para. So
We're
it
going
is
to talk about that
definitely very
guidance just
important to the
now.
longevity.
We're going to talk
music.
about that guidance just now, about the Youth Parang competition. As you said, it happened this year. So what was it like, especially after having to pause and direct things a little remotely because of the pandemic? What was that experience like, and what was the quality like?
Oh, the quality, first and foremost, amazing. It's almost like the children did not miss a beat. They didn't miss the 2 years. It was fantastic having all our schools come back together to compete in and vie for the top spot of the junior Parang supremacy. It was truly amazing having the youth and youth-led groups as well come forward and participate. That is essentially what we want from the National Parang Association: participation. All right. And they did just that, coming out in their full regalia and bringing the noise, as we say, beautiful performances, and having this group together again. What is traditional with the junior para is that after the competition is done, spontaneously, the groups come together, the schools come together and para while waiting on the results. And that is one of the most beautiful moments. So you see all the various uniforms and all the various costumes bouncing in and around each other, singing the music of Parang. Amazing, amazing.
It really sounds that way for truth, and I'm hearing that enthusiasm just rolling off of you in waves. But if there's a, if there's a new group,
as part of the project that is the Junior Para. I'm a product of it. I competed for all 7 years within my school life in Bishop's Trinity, from Form 1 all the way up to Form 6. And that tradition where we come together and parang as one after the competition is done. Doesn't matter who wins or who loses, but that is the most beautiful part of it, in my estimation.
And kudos to Batsy for actually saying, okay, well, they're having this engagement because they do it across the board. But how does a school, you raise an interesting point in terms of like you're 7 years there, but how does a school liaise with NPATT to say, okay, well, we're going to start a group, we want to enter the competition, we want to take part. Itemize those steps for us, thanks.
Okay, so it is actually a very fluid process. The competition is out there for all schools, including various religious denominations. All right. Last year, in 2021, we had our first Hindu school participate. And this was in and around the non-competitive side. All right. But we would never turn any school away from participating. So all that is needed is to contact NPATT, contact the youth officer, and from there, either we'll be able to find a para mentor if there isn't one in the school already, or the music teachers generally facilitate the youth in the musicality of it, and the Spanish teachers generally help with the language and the pronunciation and so on. So it is actually a big, big team effort to get one school from not participating to bringing them out into the competition. So a lot of moving parts, but doable because of the passion coming out of our para mentors and our teachers. I must take the opportunity to say thank you to each teacher and each para mentor for the work that they continue to do with the youth in Parang. Because me, one, as the youth officer, I cannot do it alone. So again, thank you very much.
And with that in mind, though, in terms of how it is people actually get better, is it that someone from NPATT would say, okay, well, yes, you have your teacher, your Spanish teacher to help tidy your pronunciation, you may have a music teacher, but is it that you would assign to the school someone for training, quality control, as it were, saying, okay, well, no, you do it like this, or to even work with the teachers and the lecturers in addition to the students?
Well, not necessarily assign someone to the school. However, we have various meetings that we bring the traditions, we bring the rules, for example, to the teachers themselves. And if they don't understand, we try our best to clarify. So part of the rules would be to sing a traditional aguinaldo. And that would either be on the birth of Christ or the annunciation of the birth of Christ. And you must be able to tell the entire story because that is what is being judged. So advice on that would be given on a large scale rather than having one person go in from NPATT. However, there are mentors who are familiar with, or the teachers who are familiar with the traditions of Parang and also the tradition and the rules of the competition. So that in itself would assist in the quality that would come out. However, looking at some of the first time entrants, it is amazing stuff. So, for example, the winning the winning primary school, first time entrance, Mova Anglican. So, fantastic stuff all around, no?
And have you found, in terms of that fantastic stuff, have you found groups entering from schools that may not even be doing Spanish or possibly as much as they would like to?
Well, yes, actually, yes. All of the primary schools don't necessarily have a Spanish class. Most of the secondary schools, like within the CXC syllabus, you have to do some level of Spanish. But the ability that comes out of the children being able to soak up all the information coming out from the teachers, from the parent mentors, it is mind-blowing to see. And me now sitting on the other side of the table, as it were, and just in awe at what our youth provide. And in terms of the guidance that would come out of the teachers, the parent mentors, the parents as well, and you have also the band leaders, right? Parent band leaders who would adopt a school, all right, and bring their own culture into the parent group or the parent club, as it were, and then from there creates magic. And I would also like to take the opportunity to speak a little bit about groups that come out of schools. So, for example, the champion band Los Alumnos de San Juan was actually school children, right? And then they stuck together, and now the force that they are. There's Voces de Promesa, another senior band, fantastic stuff coming out of that band. But all began in the school. The band that I belong to, Los Sonidos, coming out of Bishop Anstey Trinity College East. Everybody from the school, just out of that tradition within the school, playing the para, loved it so much, kept together, and formed senior bands.
And with that, we can safely say that we chose a very apt topic in terms of saying that the legacy continues, looking at youth and Parang. And we're very grateful to have had shared this time with you, Joseph Bertrand, the youth officer for the National Parang Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.